Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Pradonner. I'm joined by my teammates Andrew Sabo, Daniel Shapiro, and Bryan Smith. We're Team 6, and our project is Kamand. Kamand is a website that generates schedules based on existing Google Calendar data, users' upcoming assignments, and personal preferences. Our inspiration for creating Kamand is that many people, college students especially, struggle with time management. On top of full-time academic schedules, many students are heavily involved in clubs and organizations or have part-time jobs, and it just becomes hard to keep track of everything. And this can lead to last-minute cramming and stress. According to our research, time management is one of the leading causes of stress among college students. And we learned that people who struggle with time management tend to have lower grades and lower quality of life. Our goal was to remove the stress and anxiety that came with building a schedule. And our vision to accomplish this was a software that would create your schedule for you. It would look at your existing calendar and as well as your upcoming assignments and create a personalized schedule for the user. And this would eliminate the last minute cramming and lead to more productive study sessions. Currently, there's nothing else quite like this on the market. There are many calendars, like Google Calendar, for example, but they only keep track of when things are due. They don't build your schedule for you and recommend when you should work on assignments. And the literature taught us that the best time to study isn't in one big clump, but rather spaced out in 1 hour intervals over a couple days. And we also found that there's no one best time of day to study, that it's largely individual based on a person's chronotype, basically if they're a morning or a night person. Our contributions are our algorithms to determine the optimal time for events, as well as the optimal way to schedule all of those events into one calendar. And we've packaged this into a website that can directly export all of these events into a user's Google Calendar.
We have a couple bits of science that really make our projects. The first is our optimal time algorithm. We have a couple of input variables that I want to draw attention to. The first is the type of event, whether that's a homework, a quiz, or an exam. And the second is the user specified productivity period, the USPP. And that lines up with the chronotype, when in the day the user feels that they are the most productive. And then on the right side of the screen, you can see how we translated the type of event, the due date and the USPP into when a date and a time when the user should either do homework or study for a quiz or exam. The second bit of science is our optimal schedule algorithm, and this is an integer program-esque formulation. So we have a list of variables, and our objective function is to minimize the sum of the deviation between the optimal time as determined by the previous algorithm and the schedule time that actually goes on the schedule for each event. We have a list of constraints that make sure that the schedule that we output is feasible and makes sense. And our solution method is a greedy algorithm, which although it doesn't always get the best solution, it reaches a very good approximation of the optimal solution with a fraction of the computation cost. This figure summarizes how our algorithm works. The first thing we do is import existing events from a user's Google Calendar, and we rank the potential events that we want to add by priority. Then we enter this loop where we take the highest priority event and place it as close to its optimal time on the schedule in progress as possible. We then run a feasibility check on the schedule in progress to make sure that our schedule makes sense. And then we repeat the process with the next event by priority. If at any point we fail the feasibility check, we bump up that troublesome event in priority so that we're placing it on an emptier schedule in progress. And then once all the events get onto the schedule, we export the schedule to a user's Google Calendar.
A lot of technology went into building our website. First off, we recognized early on that Google Calendar's API would be very useful for us. That way, instead of having to build our own brand new calendar, we could just use Google Calendar and import and export users' data there. And a lot of people already use Google Calendar, so it made it easier for everyone. Once we finished that, we started coding our algorithms in Python. And then we started building our website using the Django web framework, since we're all comfortable using Python, and Django is all based on Python. And, it took a little while to build the website, most of the summer and a little bit of the fall semester. And then once we did, we hosted it on Python Anywhere's cloud servers. And we bought a domain name www.kamand.app through Google Domains, and the site's live now. So here we're going to show you a little demo of the site. You can see my Google Calendar here. I have a bunch of events for these 2 weeks. And here's the homepage of the site. There's a bunch of different links. My profile and stuff is already set up, so I'm just going to go ahead and schedule an assignment. So I'm going to choose the class, what type of assignment, what the name of the assignment is, when the assignment is due, and then it's going to ask how many hours do I expect to need to complete for this assignment. So I'm going to say an hour and a half. Then it's going to pull all my data from Google Calendars. I'm going to submit it. The algorithm is going to work in the background. It's going to decide when to schedule the event. And as you can see there, it scheduled an event for me on Monday, December 7th at 11:45 a.m. That's when I should do that homework. So for validation and testing, we launched the site 3 weeks ago, and we talked about it with our student, with the class in Milestone 2. We wound up getting 32 people registered as users on the site. Not all of them actually went through the process of actually scheduling any events, and we only got 9 people to actually provide feedback. In the end, we put a feedback form on the site, and we pestered people a little bit about it, providing feedback, and we wound up getting 9 results. Overall, though, it did paint a picture that the scheduling aspect of our site worked pretty well, but the UI was a little clunky and difficult to use at times. So as you can see in the graph to the right, how good was Kamand at scheduling time to do homework assignments? It was good to great for the people who actually did schedule homework assignments and gave us feedback. And to what extent did it impact users' lives? It was a slight positive effect for most people. It didn't have a massive impact on anyone's life, but it slightly improved most people's lives.
We all contributed pretty equally to all aspects of the creation and development of Kamand. Of course, we worked to our strengths, and we used a GitHub repository so that each of us can access an up-to-date version of the code. We have faced a few problems over the past few months due to our inexperience with using Google API and JavaScript. We have come across several bugs that took more time to iron out than we expected, and this pushed back our planned release date for the website. This delay shortened our user testing phase, which ultimately resulted in less feedback than we would have hoped we'd gotten. So to summarize, we developed an algorithm that creates a schedule containing optimal times to study and complete assignments. And we hope that with our product, our users can command their time more efficiently. Thank you all for coming. Any questions?